Hello everyone, I am Dr. Sirisha Narkidimilli, working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Electrical and Electronics Engineering in Aditya University. So today we have some introductory session about the semiconductors. Right. So what are the learning outcomes of this session? Concept of semiconductors, intrinsic and extrinsic semiconductors. So these two concepts can be known after this session. What are semiconductor materials? See, materials are classified basing on different constraints, basing on how the atoms and the number of electrons that are placed in the outermost orbits, valence shells, all these things. So basically, matter is made up of atom, and the structure of atom consists of three basic particles, right? They are electrons, protons, and neutrons. So the whole mass of the atom is concentrated in the nucleus at the center of the atom, right? So at the center of the atom, nucleus is present. In nucleus, we have protons and neutrons. Neutrons are neutrally charged particles, and protons are positively charged particles. And whole of the mass is concentrated at the center of the atom, that is nucleus. The charge of the electrons and charge of the protons are same, but electrons are negatively charged particles and protons are positively charged particles. The weight of electrons are very light in nature, and it's around 1950 times less than the weight of the protons. Right? This is a basic atom structure. Atom consists of electrons, protons, and neutrons. Right. See, when coming to the classification of solids based on band theory or classification of materials based on band gap. See, right. So, what is this band theory or band gap? When an atom is present, it has a nucleus at the center of the atom, and electrons are revolving around the atom. So many shells or orbits are present for the electrons. Basing on the orbit, that is the electron present in the orbit, the energy of the electron will be existing. If you take a simple atom, suppose if you take a solid, what happens? Many number of atoms are joined together and it forms a solid. When coming to a solid, there is a force of attraction of electrons of one orbit to the electrons of the other orbit. Due to this, what happens? There is a change in the energy of the electrons that are present in the different orbits that are present in a atom. Due to this, there is a variation in the magnitude of energy the electrons are existing. Right? So basically, these solids can be classified into conductors, semiconductors, and insulators basing on this energy gap. Right? So conductors are the materials in which free flow of electrons will be taking place, and the insulators. So insulators is exactly opposite of conductors. There no free electrons will be existing in the valence shells. And when coming to the semiconductors, the property of these semiconductors lies between the properties of insulators and conductors. When the completely filled band contains large number of electrons but do not contribute to the conductivity of the material. If it is a partially filled bands, if we give some energy to the valence electrons, then these electrons come out of the shell and conduction process takes place. These semiconductors properties can be changed basing on the type of material that is present and the energy that is supplied to the valence electrons. Right. So classification of materials based on energy gap. They are conductors, semiconductors, and insulators. See, in this we are having on y-axis we are having energy, and on x-axis we are having conductor. See, there three bands we are able to see. One is the conduction band, valence band, and one more band is the band gap or forbidden energy gap. See, conduction band is top of the graph and valence band is at the bottom of the graph, and this forbidden energy gap or band gap exists between conduction band and valence band. See, when coming to the case of an insulator, see, a conduction band is at the top and valence band is at the bottom. See the gap that is existing between conduction band and valence band. The band gap is very large in case of insulators. Whatever the valence electrons that are present in the insulators or the electrons that are present in the outermost shells, these electrons, they can't pass through the band gap to the conduction band. Whatever the energy that is supplied over there, the electrons cannot come out of the valence band, and they will not be able to come to the conduction band, since band gap is or forbidden energy gap is very large, and it is around greater than 3 electron volts. And when coming to the conductors, see, in conductors, conduction band and valence band overlap each other. Here, no band gap or forbidden energy gap exists. These two bands overlap each other, and whatever the electrons that are present in the valence band, these electrons, they jump to the conduction band, and the process of conduction takes place, and the free movement of electrons will be existing in the conductors. And here band gap is 0, and the overlap takes place between these two bands. Next one, coming to the semiconductors. Here, see the band gap, it is in between that of insulators and conductors. It is approximately less than 2 electron volts. Here, some valence electrons are present in the valence band. See, very little energy is required for this valence band electrons to jump from valence band to conduction band. If a small amount of energy is supplied, thermal generation process takes place, and these electrons move from valence band to conduction band. At 0 degrees, the electrons in the valence band exist as it is, and there won't be any conduction process, and the semiconductor acts as a insulator. When the temperature of the semiconductor is increased from 0 degrees to room temperature, 0 degrees Kelvin to room temperature, then thermal generation of electrons takes place, and these electrons gain energy, and these electrons jump from valence band, pass through the band gap, and reaches the conduction band. Then semiconductor acts as a conductor. See, these are the 3 energy bands which are existing in conductors, semiconductors, and insulators. See, so as the energy band diagram of conductors, semiconductors, or insulators are shown in a figure. Next. See, when coming to the valence band, this valence band is the band which is above the x-axis and at the bottom of the axis, right? This energy band occupies the valence electrons, which forms covalent bonding. Depending on the number of valence electrons, they may get partially or completely filled. At absolute 0, covalent bonds are complete, and therefore valence band is completely filled. When coming to the conduction band, it has a free electrons which is responsible for the conduction process. At absolute 0, the energy band is empty. Next, this forbidden energy gap is existing between both the conduction band and the valence band. So whatever the electrons that are present in the valence band, a small amount of energy is required for the electrons to gain and to move from the valence band to the conduction band. Next, classification of semiconductors. So these semiconductors can be broadly classified as intrinsic semiconductors, or you can call it as pure semiconductors, and extrinsic or doped semiconductors, right? So again, in semiconductors, you have 2 classification. First one is the intrinsic semiconductors. See, these intrinsic semiconductors are nothing but when a semiconductor is in its pure form, right? If it has no impurities, very pure form, that type of semiconductors are called as intrinsic semiconductors. Examples are some germanium and silicon, right? So in these semiconductors, conductivity is mainly due to the electron hole pairs that are formed due to the thermal agitation. When these electrons reach the conduction band, due to thermal excitation, leaves equal number of holes in the valence band. Therefore, number of free electrons in conduction band will be always equal to the number of holes in the valence band. Once the electron is formed, there automatically hole is existing. Therefore, here as the number of electrons is equal to the number of holes. At 0 degrees Kelvin, what happens? All these valence electrons are all the valence electrons present in silicon or germanium atom. They forms covalent bond with the neighboring atoms. Therefore, no free electrons are available for conduction process. So, under these conditions, what happens? Valence band is completely filled and conduction band is completely empty. So, here electrons are the valence band cannot cross the forbidden energy gap. Hence, therefore, these materials acts as insulators. See, when coming to the representation of a silicon crystal, see, the outermost electrons of silicon is 4 electrons. All these 4 electrons, they form covalent bond with the other electrons. Once a silicon atom is there, when these silicon atoms are arranged in a systematic form, all these silicon atoms are similar in structure, and this then it forms a silicon crystal. Every atom of silicon, outermost valence electrons, they form covalent bonds with the next silicon atoms. So, since all the 4 electrons form covalent bond, there won't be any conduction in its pure form. When coming to the energy band diagram, see here, whatever the Eg that is existing, see this Eg is nothing but the forbidden energy gap. Down one is the valence band and the conduction band. In its pure semiconductor form, there won't be any electrons moving from the valence band to conduction band at 0 degrees Kelvin. When the temperature is increased to room temperature, that is around 300 degrees Kelvin, then thermal generation of process of electrons will be taking place inside the valence band, and all these electrons gain the energy, and this will be moving from conduction band to the valence band, and this silicon crystal or intrinsic semiconductor, it acts as a conductor. See, when coming to the extrinsic semiconductors, these extrinsic semiconductors are nothing but when a pure semiconductor is added with some impurity, then it forms extrinsic semiconductor. When one part of one atom of impurity is added to 1 million parts of a pure semiconductor, it forms a extrinsic semiconductor, right? So this process of adding impurities to the semiconductor is known as doping. So this doping can be done in 2 forms. Whether the impurity can be from the 3rd group of elements, or it can be from the 4th group of elements, right? See, here also you can see the illustration of valence electrons, pentavalent electrons and trivalent electrons. If the impurity is added, then the free formation of electrons and the movement of electrons will be taking place from the valence shell to the conduction shell. So, these are the illustrations of valence electron, pentavalent atom and trivalent atom. Right. See how the doping process is done. One atom of impurity is added to 10 power 6 or 10 power 10 semiconductor atoms. If the semiconductor atoms are around 10 power 6 to 10 power 10, only one atom of impurity, that is whether it is a trivalent impurity or pentavalent impurity, can be added by the process of doping. Right. So these materials can be of 2 types. They are donor impurities and acceptor impurities. These extrinsic semiconductors, they are further classified into 2 categories. One is the N-type semiconductor and the other one is the P-type semiconductor. See, when a pure semiconductor is added with group 5 elements, then it forms a pentavalent impurity. Next one, a P-type semiconductor is added to or pure semiconductor is added to group 3 elements, aluminium, boron, aluminium, gallium, indium, thallium. They all forms the group 3 elements. Then it forms the P-type semiconductors. If the impurity atoms with 5 electrons produce N-type semiconductors, in these N-type semiconductors, extra electrons are formed. Since the 4 electrons forms the covalent bond, whatever the extra electron present, that is free electrons will be existing in the N-type of semiconductors. So the majority carriers in N-type of semiconductor is electrons. Similarly, when the impurity with 3 valence electrons are added to pure semiconductor, formation of holes will be taking place. When the valence shell has 3 electrons in the outermost orbits, all the 3 electrons forms the covalent bonds with the surrounding atoms. So one hole will be existing there. So in this P-type of semiconductor, majority carriers are holes, and in N-type semiconductors, majority carriers are electrons. See, when coming to the differences between intrinsic semiconductor and extrinsic semiconductor, by the process of doping, see, in this intrinsic semiconductor, no intentional doping with impurity atoms. When coming to extrinsic semiconductors, here doping can be done with the help of third group elements or fifth group elements. Here, when coming to the type of atoms, here it's made up of a single type of atom, only silicon or only germanium. And when coming to extrinsic, here a pure semiconductor is added with trivalent element, or it can be added with pentavalent element. If it is a trivalent element, it forms a P-type semiconductor, and if it is a pentavalent element, it forms a N-type extrinsic semiconductor. So when coming to the charge carriers, here you have equal number of electrons and holes. Here when coming to this extrinsic, when the charge carriers, majority carriers depends on the P-type material or N-type material. When coming to the conductivity, here it exhibits both N-type and P-type conductivity. Here it exhibits either N-type or P-type basing on the doping. If it is doped with the trivalent atoms, elements, then it has a majority of holes. If it is doped with pentavalent element, it has majority carriers, electrons. And majority charge carriers, both electrons and holes have similar concentration in intrinsic form. And here, either electrons or holes can be majority carriers. Both can be majority carriers in case of extrinsic semiconductors. Electrical conductivity. It has relatively low electrical conductivity because it exists in pure form intrinsic semiconductors. Conductivity is relatively very low. Here the conductivity of extrinsic semiconductors can be increased because of the process of doping. And when coming to the energy levels, valence band and conduction band, they remain very close to each other. Here these energy levels are modified and creates a wider band gap because of doping process. And next one is band gap modification. Here band gap almost remains constant, and here band gap can be modified basing on the type and concentration of dopants. Here applications of this intrinsic are, they are not commonly used for practical devices, and these extrinsic semiconductors, they are exclusively and extensively used in making lot of electronic devices, electronic components, diodes, transistors, MOSFETs, JFETs, SCRs, and all these things, extrinsic semiconducting materials are used. Examples of intrinsic are silicon and germanium. Silicon and germanium forms the intrinsic semiconductors. Here you have, since extrinsic are of two types, when coming to the N type, we have phosphorus, antimony, bismuth. And P type, we have boron, gallium, indium forms the some P type materials. So these are the some basic differences between intrinsic and extrinsic semiconductors. So overall, we learned about semiconductors, basics of intrinsic and extrinsic semiconductors, how the uh, materials are classified, and what is the how this intrinsic and extrinsic semiconductors are present, and what is the process of doping, and differences between intrinsic and extrinsic semiconductors. Thank you.